Hey everybody, live at 5:25. It's Burlington Democrats with your co-host and co-producer Owen Doherty. My co-host Andrew Champagne couldn't join me today, but he says hello to all of you, wishes he could be here, and I assure you he is most certainly here in spirit. So glad to be here today for about 30 minutes to talk about November election results and beyond into 2026 as we enter the new year. Everything from local things here in Burlington all the way up to the midterms nationwide. And so I'd be remiss, I want to make sure I mention, if you're out there and you need anything at all, you need help, a good place for a meal, community services, health insurance, counseling, that's a big thing right now. Anything at all, you can call Vermont 211, and that number is below me on the screen. So check that out. I know, especially in these dark months, it can get lonely, it can get cold, it can get all of that. Really, 211 is the place to go for housing, all sorts of stuff, especially as it gets very, very cold in the next couple of weeks. The warming shelters, all of that, you'll have access to that information at Vermont 211. So be sure to check that out if you need it, or refer your friends or neighbors to it as well. So stay warm out there. Also wanted to start off here at the top of the program talking about ICE and making sure people know their rights with ICE. Here in Vermont and across the country, I think a lot of people are really deeply disturbed by the ICE raids that have been happening with our neighbors and with our communities. We are not apart from that. We are not isolated from that here in Vermont, certainly, and our neighbors need our help, so it's really important that even folks that ICE might not be targeting, or you might not be someone that you think they're looking for, it's really important for you to make sure that you know your neighbors' rights and your rights as well. So I have a short video for you today from the ACLU to know your rights relating to ICE and immigration enforcement.
It was 5:30 a.m. when ICE came to Esther's apartment. ICE stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The agents lied to Esther, saying they were police officers investigating a crime, and her husband, Alexei, was a potential witness. "Is Alexei home?" they asked innocently. Now, Esther's gut told her she should cooperate, but she remembered something she'd heard on the radio. ICE had been making early morning sweeps using tricks like this to get people to open their doors. Esther remembered she had rights. ICE may try similar tricks at your home. They may say they're looking for a friend, relative, or roommate. But do not be fooled, and do not open the door. Instead, remain calm and be polite. Tell the agents that you'd like to see a warrant and their ID. Ask them to slip these documents under the door or hold them up to the peephole. Without a warrant signed by a judge, ICE is not allowed to enter or search your home. ICE usually won't have a warrant, but they may lie and say they do, or show you something else that looks official. So look carefully and take pictures of whatever they show you. If they refuse to share any of these documents, then ask them for their card and contact information. Do not show the agents anything or say anything except, "I do not consent for you to enter my home. I do not want to talk to you without a lawyer present. Please leave." Now, ICE won't always listen to you and may enter your home using force. But saying these things might help you in court, even if the agents don't listen. The other videos in this series will help you understand your rights if ICE enters your home or arrests you. Esther and Alexei knew their rights, and the officers left. This is all scary, but remember, we have rights. After an encounter with ICE, take notes about what happened, writing down as many details as you can remember. This information might be helpful in future immigration proceedings. It's important that you and your loved ones are prepared for encounters with ICE, and that you have a plan for what to do if one of you is arrested, including information about who to call. If ICE comes to your home, remember, you have rights. Do not open the door. Ask to see a warrant signed by a judge. Tell them you do not consent to them being at your home. Please leave. If a loved one is arrested, you should be able to locate them at locator.ice.gov.
Here's the important thing to remember. What these people are doing is illegal, it's unpopular, and it's just plain wrong. So, share that video with your friends and families. There's a lot more resources out there with the ACLU and other immigrant defense funds and groups. So sure to do a quick Google search, but certainly starting with the ACLU is a great place to go. Definitely check it out, and make sure you share with your friends and families. There's always something to learn, and I think a lot of people think they know what to do if ICE comes to their door, but don't make assumptions. There's a lot of really great resources out there to check out, and make sure you're sharing with your community members. They also have that video in other languages. Couldn't play it in all of them here today, of course. That would take most of the show, but check them out too. Now, the next election I want to talk about is my favorite one that happened this past November. It's the New York mayor's race. If you remember in the past, we talked about Andrew Cuomo, Curtis Sliwa, and Zoran Mamdani in the general election. A lot happened that last October and November with this election. And we're going to go to our friend David Delaney, our New York City correspondent, with more.
Hello, Town Meeting Day TV. Hello, Burlington. It's a pleasure and an honor to be back on the program. I miss Vermont a lot. I love to be on the program as much as I can. I've got my City Market hat and my UVM sweater. Hello, Andrew. Hello, Owen. Thanks for asking me to be on again. I'd love to share my thoughts about the mayoral election. You can always go to daviddelaney.substack.com if you'd like to find out more of my thoughts, but I'll offer you some more here. Zoran Mamdani won the election. He did so with a majority, which was what people were wondering. He was always the favorite to win, but can he win that majority of the vote? Can he get a mandate for change? And he did receive that mandate. And I was most impressed by the turnout, because you had, for the last 30 years in New York City, you've had municipal elections have had turnout in the low 20% range. Now we went up to the low 40s this time, which was really great to see. And Zoran won over 1 million votes. I think he may have been the first candidate to win a mayoral election with over 1 million votes since John Lindsay in 1969. But that may not be true. But point is, he did very well in terms of turnout. He really did a great job. With the Muslim vote, which I worked in, I did a lot with outreach to the Muslim vote in my capacity on the campaign. He flipped precincts in Brighton Beach, where the post-Soviet Muslim vote came out for him that had been won by Trump in 2024. He did the same thing in Hispanic areas, like in Corona Park in Queens, where these were Trump areas that Zoran was able to win. And a lot of his campaign was predicated on, can this message of affordability speak to people who had voted for Donald Trump in 2024? And he did have success with that, which I think was another thing that the campaign was aiming for. So yeah, I was so happy to see that. It was really a great moment for New York, I think, and also for the country, because I live in New York City, so it's easy to feel like we're the center of the world, but it does feel like so much hope and optimism and ambition is resting on Zoran now, because he's this beacon of light in the face of the authoritarianism and the bigotry and the brutality of the Trump administration. And I hope that in his success will be the success of the anti-Trump movement in general. So I'm really hoping that he can succeed in delivering on affordability. He has a long way to go. He's beginning to develop his administration right now. I was really happy to see the pick for first deputy mayor. Dean Foulahan has been in government for 40 years. He worked for Mayor de Blasio, and before that he worked for Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver. He's been in mayoral administrations, and he's been in Albany, which is exactly what Zoran needs to deliver the best possible administration, because he's going to have to work with Democrats in Albany, and he's going to have to deliver change through the nebulous city bureaucracy. So I really love the pick for deputy mayor, and he's really assembling a tremendous team of people so far to implement his agenda, and I'm pretty optimistic. But it's going to be hard. I'm worried about the Trump administration. Now, Zoran seems to have charmed the president once, which I loved because it threw New York Republicans into a fit, but that may change. The president is fickle, and we have to be concerned about that. He may decide he wants to send in the National Guard after all, so we have a lot to be thinking about. But all in all, really tremendous moment for New York, very optimistic about the future of New York City. There was also the New Jersey gubernatorial election on the same night. Mikey Sherrill knocked it out of the park. It was a complete victory, landslide victory. People were saying it would be close, that Jack Ciattarelli could win. Nope, it was a complete landslide for the Democrats. And you saw as well a snapback in the Latino vote, which had gone pretty good for Trump in 24, very back into the Democratic column, which I think, the president has failed on inflation. The president has failed on the cost of living. He's saying that affordability is a Democrat scam. He ran on the price of eggs, but he seems to have forgotten that. And not to mention the fact that he's sending, secret police in to disrupt communities and neighborhoods. And so people are mad. People are angry. And, we've got midterm elections a year from now, and I hope we got to win again. We don't have a choice. We got to be on the lookout for gerrymandering, because they're going to try and, if they can't win a free election, they're going to try and make it not free. So we got to be on the lookout for that as well. So all in all, a very good election cycle for the Democratic Party. I was very inspired about the Mamdani win in particular, and I'm looking forward to the future of progressive politics. So that's what I've got. Thank you so much, guys, for having me on. Miss you all. I wish happiness and health to you both, Andrew and Owen. I hope you're well, and I hope to see you soon.
Thanks a lot, David. And that's our man on the ground down in New York City. David knows just about everything about, especially New York City politics and politics in general. Be sure to subscribe to his Substack. This is a shameless plug for that. And we're excited for him to continue commentating on the New York City government and elections as we head into the midterms with some exciting congressional races, as well as the Mamdani transition and, the actual challenge of governing, which is going to be even harder than the campaign probably for that whole team there. But my favorite part of the last month since the election was Zoran's meeting with President Trump. If you didn't see it, check it out. I mean, why do people love this guy? Because he's got a great face, he's got a great smile, and he's super personable, super likable, and even Trump can recognize that. That's what a lot of Trump's appeal is as well. And so Trump gets that, he sees that, and so yeah. The guys it was very interesting to watch. Definitely be sure to check that out. It was quite stunning. I'll also add there was other great mayoral victories across the country. A Democrat unseated a kind of moderate to establishment incumbent in Buffalo, another Democrat in the Zoran type unseated incumbent in Seattle, which has not reelected a mayor in the last 4 or 5 elections. If you've ever been to Seattle, I think you can kind of realize that. Michelle Wu was reelected in Boston. Her opponent dropped out because it was going to be such a blowout. Developers and real estate folks in Boston have been trying to take her down for the last couple of years, and they've just absolutely failed. She's massively popular in Boston, and people know that she's fighting for them. In the same way, Zoran is fighting for regular New Yorkers as well. So a lot of really exciting mayoral races across the country. November was a big win for Democrats, like David said, in New Jersey and in Virginia as well, with Mikey Sherrill and Abigail Spanberger, and we have their photos right up here. What I find most fascinating about these folks is that they came in this 2018 anti-Trump, led by women, blue wave, and they both are folks with military background or CIA background, along with Alyssa Slotkin in Michigan and a whole bunch of other folks. And this class of Democrats that came in 2018 are doing amazing things, running for higher office, and are really, really talented politicians. Like David said, the New Jersey race wasn't even close, down to the wire. People were getting really worried, and they picked up seats in the New Jersey State House. She won her race by not a small margin at all, and they picked up seats, like I said, in the State House. Shout out to Kaylee Haberstroh, who won some of those races in New Jersey as well, a good friend of the show. In Virginia, Abigail Spanberger kind of led that ticket that really swept. In New Jersey, you vote for the lieutenant governor and governor together. In Virginia, it's the opposite. You vote for the AG, the LG, and the governor on separate tickets. So it could be divided parties, and all 3 of the candidates in Virginia Virginia won. The lieutenant governor will be the first Muslim woman elected statewide in the U.S., and Jay Jones, who won the Attorney General race as well, will take office. Jay Jones, fascinating case. People were most worried about him in these three races. He had a bit of a scandal back towards the end of the race in the last 2 months. Definitely check it out. And so people were really concerned about if he could win independents, if he could win Republicans, and all three of them won by not a small margin. Jay Jones was the least, but inched their ways towards victory. So very exciting things happening in Virginia. Virginia is a huge bellwether of the midterms because it's the first election after a president takes office. So these are great results for into next year's midterms as well. And in the State House in Virginia, Democrats flipped 13 seats and have the largest majority they've had since 1987. So basically, for generation of Democrats. So very exciting stuff happening in Virginia. We'll see what she can do. Glenn Youngkin's done a lot of bad things with Winsome Earl Sears and the Attorney General there. They've done a lot of bad things in Virginia, and very excited for this slate of Democrats to take office and to really, pull that back and fight back against the Trump administration. Federal workers of Virginia and all sorts of folks definitely know that the Trump administration is not fighting for them, and those results are very clear in this past November's election. Also, in November was the California ballot measure, which was like the next biggest election. This was something that you probably heard about back in August, July, when the Texas redistricting was happening, and then they were talking about Indiana and all these other places. And Gavin Newsom, who has been fighting very, very hard against the Trump administration very publicly, is really the person that spearheaded this. And it got all of the statewide folks in California, the whole Democratic Party, as well as labor unions involved, other folks too, involved with this ballot measure. And I think it was definitely a gamble. Basically, this measure would redistrict California to offset the losses that would happen in Texas, and it would only happen until the 2030 redistricting after the next census. And if Texas doesn't do it, it wouldn't happen at all. So it's just kind of like what if bill, and it was on a ballot measure. It was definitely putting the governor's neck out and a lot of folks' neck out, and it was a risky political move, but it definitely paid off. And so very impressed with what the governor is doing there in California. Very excited about that. And it will drastically save us in the midterms and will help us really save democracy in the end as well. So commend them there. Another thing that happened since the show, and kind of hovering over all of this and all of the election, was the government was shut down. It was one of the longest government shutdowns in recent memory, and government was shut down from October 1st until about, November 20th. I don't know the exact date right in front of me, somewhere around there, so about 6 weeks or so. And federal workers were not getting a paycheck. Federal services were stalled or slowed. And people began to get really, really worried about SNAP benefits. So this was happening all across the country. People were feeling it very acutely. Here in Vermont, the state really scrambled to make sure that they'd be able to pay SNAP benefits, and Treasurer Pichek and state legislative leaders like Jill Kowinski were a huge part in making sure that those SNAP benefits were being paid out, and they ended up being paid out, not exactly on time, but we were able to guarantee that Vermonters would still get those SNAP benefits. So really applaud the Speaker, the Senate leader, and the Treasurer, and other folks as well on that, making sure that those benefits could get paid out. Certainly very admirable of them. Also in November, also want to add on the government shutdown, they voted to open it, right? We know that. Many Democrats did not vote for it, although a few did. And basically, what the whole government shutdown we're fighting about was these ACA subsidies. So these subsidies that make healthcare premiums more affordable for the average Americans, and millions of Americans receive these ACA premiums, and about 15,000 Vermonters do, so big swath of folks. And I have numbers here on it. I don't think people realize really how impactful these ACA subsidies are for folks. So an individual making $63,000 a year, so a fairly comfortable income would pay $15,000 a year for the benchmark plan. So nearly a quarter of their income without these ACA subsidies making them more affordable. While a family of four at the same poverty level would see an increase of over $30,000 a year. So people all across the country and the state are now, right now, because we didn't continue them in this budget fight, are seeing right now, they're looking at their insurance premiums, they're seeing them double, triple, skyrocket in different ways all across the country. And in Vermont, where Medicaid Advantage plans have kind of pulled back, where our health insurance system is not as many healthy folks, not as many folks in general, not as many hospital systems are really feeling those changes most acutely as across the country. So that's where we're at with that. Those are slated to end at the end of this month, but Democrats are fighting hard to make a plan. Mike Johnson said he has a plan. I don't believe that, and the Senate is working hard on making a solution as well as the House, but so far not a viable one has emerged. So that CR will run until January 30th, and we could be back here in a month talking about the next government shutdown, because January 30th isn't that far away. So that's what's going on with the government shutdown across the country. Now, as we look into next year, January 30th, the CR, all of that, we're going to start revving up for Town Meeting Day 2026 here in Burlington and across the state. So your local elections will take place in your towns and cities, and here in Burlington, they'll happen at the ballot box. So in Burlington, we have 8 city councilors that are elected by ward, 1 through 8. If you don't know what it is, you can check out the city website to find out what ward you're in. And right now, Democrats hold a majority on the city council, and they're using that majority to make life better for Burlingtonians, to keep the city affordable, help our housing crisis and all of that. They're looking to kind of really protect and expand that majority. In March 1 through 8. A lot of great candidates slated to run for re-election, and some great ones running against the incumbent progressive candidates as well for city council. If you're interested in running, definitely reach out to BurlingtonDemocrats.org. We have Ryan Addario, who's the new chair, took office in September, is doing a great job finding great candidates and making sure that they're feeling supported for the March elections. They're really revving up, and all of this will really start in January with the Democratic caucus, where we'll select our candidates for city council. Also, there's a new county chair in Chittenden County as well. Her name is Beth Esmond, and she was vice chair of Chittenden County and has really hit the ground running since she took office in October. So that's been very exciting as well. And Chittenden County Democrats are looking forward to supporting those really at-risk seats in the kind of outer rings of Chittenden County, in Milton, in Richmond, Westford, Essex, those areas, making sure that those candidates are supported so we can win back some of the seats that Republicans won in the county in 2024. So very exciting there. And then all of those kind of reorganizations and elections led to the state parties reorganization. So Lachlan Francis, our good friend of the show from Brattleboro, was elected state party chair, young guy, 29 years old. We actually went to UVM together and worked on Mayor Murrow Weinberger's 2018 campaign together. Great guy, really talented guy. He was Westminster town chair. He was the Windham County chair down there for the Democratic Party, and he's really going to hit the ground running. We have one of the youngest chairs and one of the youngest state executive directors in the country here in Vermont, and they're both folks that are bringing tremendous energy and excitement and new ideas to the party. So really excited to see what they can do in the elections next year. Both good friends of mine, and very excited. So definitely keep an eye on what they're doing. They've done some great stuff on social media already and all of that. So thanks so much. Check that out. Also, in 2026 with the midterms, the race has already begun here in Vermont. We have a Republican Lieutenant Governor in John Rogers here in Vermont. Guy's been mixed up in a whole bunch of scandals, mainly pertaining to, scandals is a tough word, controversies, let's say, mainly pertaining to his road, Rogers Road, which his property sits on in Glover, Vermont, up in the Kingdom. And this is a major road connecting two towns, not major, dirt road connecting two towns, but he is alleging that is a private road and that town vehicles really shouldn't be doing construction on it, fixing the road, that sort of thing. The town is alleging that it is a public road. All of it is a public road. And so they're in this big fight over it. It's spilled out onto social media, onto in the town meetings, select board, all of that. And Rogers has not backed down from it, even though he's a well-known statewide politician. So one, if you're looking for a good laugh, check it out, and it's also very scary because he's kind of chased town officials away from the road. So we're looking to take on John Rogers and Phil Scott next year, and certainly John Rogers is beatable. And Molly Gray, a former lieutenant governor here in Vermont who ran for Congress in 2022, is jumping back in. Very exciting. Molly's done some great work with the Vermont Afghan Alliance the last few years, and very exciting that she's getting in the race for lieutenant governors. There's been some other rumors of Democrats looking at getting into the race, and all of them sound great to me. And so very exciting things happening next year in the at least lieutenant governor's race, and we'll see about the governor's race. If you want to run for governor, reach out to Burlington Democrats, reach out to the Vermont Democratic Party, reach out to me. Let's talk about it. As well as in the state senate and state reps, recruiting some great candidates there. In the state senate here in Chittenden County, a lot of rumors going around about folks running here in the Central District, which stretches kind of like to Winooski, Essex, all of that, as well as the South and North Districts, as well as and state senate candidates in Rutland, Orange, the Northeast Kingdom, all of that. So very exciting things. If Democrats can keep performing at the levels that they have, there's going to be a massive blowout that we haven't even seen in decades. In next November, we need your help with it. So very excited about that. Very excited to look forward to that future where we'll elect a Democratic majority in the House, maybe in the Senate, and begin to really fight back against the Trump administration in a meaningful way in the legislatures, both in our state houses and in the U.S. Capitol down in D.C. So before I leave today, thank you so much for joining us here at Burlington Democrats. Thank you to our correspondents, David Delaney. Thank you for all the staff here at Town Meeting TV. Andrew, I know, is very excited to come back next month and be on the air, and excited to debrief this with him later. He doesn't have a TV, so I'm not sure how he'll watch it, but I'm sure he'll figure out a way. And thank you to all our loyal viewers. You all make shows like this possible. And always really appreciate your feedback. Any guests or any feedback for next time, we'd love to have you on the show. So feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you so much.